Mexican president announces retaliatory tariffs on the United States. Canadians boo American national anthem at Ottawa NHL game. British Columbia says it will no longer buy American liquor from red states in response to the United States tariffs. That's oddly specific.
I'm announcing Canada will be responding to the U.S. trade action with 25% tariffs against $155 billion worth of American goods.
The global economy is once again caught in a high-stakes trade war. President Donald Trump has imposed a 10% tariff on Chinese imports and a 25% tariff on Canada and Mexico.
Tariffs don't cause inflation, they cause success. They cause big success. So we're going to have great success. There could be some temporary short-term disruption, and people will understand that. I had that when I negotiated some of the good deals for the farmers. And unfortunately, those deals have been led astray by Biden and his people because they didn't enforce the deals.
Trump has already broken his number one promise to voters that he would bring the cost of foods down. That is just not going to happen. His deportations of immigrants has caused such a huge rippling effect throughout the farm industry that it's caused many laborers who are immigrants to just not show up to work. Many of them have self-deported and gone back to wherever they're from. Going through the fields here in Ventura County, there was no one working. I'm hearing reports that some farmers are saying that 75% of their workforce did not show up to work on Friday. So what does that mean? It means food is going to stay in the vines and rot and go bad. And it means we're going to have a disruption in our food supply chain. So everyone better buckle up because food's about to shoot up really high. The cost of strawberries, the cost of avocados, the cost of lettuce, the cost of everyday things we eat and take for granted are going to shoot up because there is no one in the fields to pick them. So I hope you all are happy who voted for this man.
Trump has just told the World Economic Forum that if they want to sell products in the United States, they must be made in the United States, or you're going to have to pay a tariff. And everyone's going, oh, he's so patriotic. He's the best president we've ever had. Without they're all losing their shit over it and want to have their babies, but they don't realize the truth behind what this actually means. It just means that the cost of living in the States is going to go up. Again, why? Look at it from a manufacturer's point of view. Why would you manufacture something in the United States that you already have infrastructure elsewhere to manufacture? You're going to have to move your infrastructure. You're going to have to pay the American workforce to work for you. They're not cheap. So the price of the product is going to go up anyway if they manufacture in the States. So why not just keep manufacturing where they're manufacturing right now and pay the tariff? They don't mind paying the tariff. Why? Because the price of the tariff goes on the price of the product that they're selling. The American people are going to pay the tariff. But guess who gets to keep the tariff? The parasite class. The American government and the parasite class. They're making money while they're making the common people poorer. This is the age-old story. And when are you going to wake up and see it? That none of these elected leaders, I don't care who it is, whether they're red, whether they're blue, whether they're yellow, whether they're green, what political party they're a part of, they're all part of the same club, the parasitic class, and they will never, ever do anything for you. They only ever do things for themselves. It's time to wake up. Take back your power, take back your sovereignty, and create.
It just really bothers me that people really don't know how impactful this tariff increase is going to hurt not just consumers, but small businesses and entrepreneurs, if you will. I was talking to someone earlier and she's a hairstylist and she was like, it's really not going to affect me because I don't work for anybody and I work for myself and I'm not going to really feel it because I'm a self-made owned business person. And I was like, yeah, but I mean, you do hair. So where do you think the hair is coming from? Like, they're going to increase the taxes on that shit out the wazoo. Remember when Kanekalon hair was like $1 a pack or even cheaper than that? Yeah, we're going to be paying like $5, $6 a pack for just some fucking Kanekalon. Where do you think the lashes come from? Where do you think the glue from the lashes come from? Where do you think the fucking lace fronts come from? Like, let's just be real about this. Let's just analyze it a little bit. You want to get your nails done? Like the acrylic. Where do you think the acrylic's coming from? Where do you think the nails are coming from? Like, even the fucking the liquid, I can't even think of the name. I used to do nails for fun. That all of that shit comes from across seas. If it doesn't come from China, it's coming from Korea, believe me. And people really just don't understand. Like, if you're a small business and, you know, you're selling, I don't know, socks or, you know, body oils or body lotions, a lot of the products that we get, they're not created in America. They're being shipped to the United States and they're and we're the importing country, so we're going to have to pay the tariffs on it. So this is kind of deliberately being done to directly impact entrepreneurs and small business owners. Because if you can't pay, for the supply and the product, you can't keep up with the demand of your business. And then ultimately you're resulting to having to go back into the workforce. That's what they really want. They want people to go back into the workforce. Let's be honest about it. And I just want people to not be surprised when next year comes and this is really like manifesting itself. And you're like, whoa, I wasn't paying this last year to get these products, and now you're blaming the wholesale seller, and the wholesaler is just kind of caught in the middle of the crossfire. And it's really not their fault that this is going up. Yeah, it's going to be a shit show. Basically, what they're trying to do is they're trying to make us just buy within like American-based products. That's what's happening. He promised the billionaires that have investments within U.S. product that they're going to make a lot of money by imposing tariff taxes on products coming from other countries. We're going to look at those products, compare them to American-made products, and say, I'm going to buy American-made because it's obviously cheaper. That's what's going to happen. That's essentially what's going to happen. And then with him deporting people, it's going to put a lot of people back into these little positions that they otherwise wouldn't work, but nobody's hiring, and they'll be lucky to get any job right now. So they stand to make a lot of money off of United States citizens by just imposing these tariff taxes. Because again, you're going to go to the supermarket, you're going to buy, tomatoes, or you're going to buy avocados that are grown with the United States, even though they're genetically modified. They're cheaper than what's coming from Mexico and what's coming from China. You're going to buy, American-made cell phones. You're going to buy American-made cars, products, period, because it's going to be cheaper than what's coming in from other countries, because they're going to put these tariff taxes on there and it's going to raise the price. So that's what's happening. He just promised these billionaires they're going to make a lot of money this year, and he's doing that by forcing us into purchasing American-made products and working in positions that we otherwise wouldn't work because we're overqualified.
With all this tariff stuff going on, I just want to point out something that's not really being talked about, but the United States only produces about 50% of its medicine. It imports the other 50%. PMERT also wants to put tariffs onto Europe, and that's where a lot of that medicine is coming from. So if that's a 25% tariff, a lot of medicine is going to be 25% more expensive. And let's be real, it's already not very cheap in the United States. Also, like 94% of seafood comes from other places that aren't America. They don't make TVs. You don't make cell phones. The tariffs on Canada for things like potash and steel and aluminum. This trade war is just going to hurt people.
Politicians here have a bunch of different things that they are talking about doing to counteract that, but I think there's something they haven't tapped into yet. I don't know if you know this, but Pfizer manufactures all of its Viagra in Ireland, almost exclusively, and then the rest of it is made in Canada. And Botox is also made in Ireland. So here's my proposal. Canada, Commonwealth, and Commonwealth adjacent, just hold back their Viagra and their Botox and watch the Republican Party fall into chaos. That's the first thing we should be doing.
Hey, so food chains and food economies, that's in my wheelhouse, and I have been sounding the alarm for years about the high quantity of produce that we import from other countries, how building robust local food economies is good for everybody in America. It's good for our economy. It's good for our food safety. It's good for our resilience as a nation. It's good for our health. It boosts our local economy. And obviously, it's good for the planet. I have been a broken record for years about the supply chain and how while trade with other nations is well and good on some level, it makes us weaker as a nation and it makes us weaker as consumers, as eaters. And to rely on imported produce for such a high proportion of the fruit and veggies that we eat, and nuts as well, actually. This administration just instituted 25% tariffs on goods coming in from Mexico. and from Canada as well. But that has a lot more to do with construction supplies and oil, things that are not so much within my expertise, but fruit and veggies absolutely are. Unfortunately, government websites and all of the data and statistics that we need are now completely garbled, being absolutely gutted and shut down. But I've got a bunch of stats from the USDA memorized, and hopefully some of it will come back up online. So feel free to double check me. From the years 2020 through 2023, between 67 and 77% of the imported vegetables we received into the United States were from Mexico. And about 50% of the fruit and nuts we imported into this country were from Mexico. Mexico is the number one provider to the US of fruits and veggies. More than all of the other 120 plus countries we import produce from combined. I saw Aaron Parnas yesterday say that he was going to Chipotle to get some guacamole before the prices go up, because guess what we import a shit ton of from Mexico? Avocados. It's also worth noting that when the USDA compiles a list of veggies, that does not include potatoes, and it does not include beans, legumes, pulses. A significant proportion of both of those crops are grown in Mexico. Last year, we imported about 12 billion pounds of vegetables from Mexico. That's way more than avocados. In fact, Mexico is the number one source of bell peppers for American consumers. Mexico is also the number one importer of summer and winter squash, snap beans, and cucumbers. That dude who makes all his fresh cucumber salads with his mandolin, he's going to be paying at least 25% more now. And so are you. We haven't even touched other crops like broccoli or the laundry list of fruits including mangoes, papaya, or nuts like pine nuts. Billions of pounds of which are all grown in Mexico and imported into the US. And now every American restaurant, food processor, grocery store will have a 25% tariff slapped on those that they will immediately pass on to the consumer. Because let's not forget, a tariff is a tax the American consumer pays. It comes out of your wallet. And we haven't even gotten to the part where American exports to Mexico are going to be impacted by this tariff, this tax that Trump has slapped on. This trade war that he has started with our neighbors to the north and to the south. This will hurt American farmers, just like his tariffs last time did. Now, while I think trade is a good thing, I have been a proponent of local food economies, sustainable local agriculture, the importance of building a robust local food economy, food supply chain, for the well-being of the environment, but even more so, for the security and quality of life of every American, so that we can be insulated from things like food chain disruptions, like we experienced in 2020, 2021, but also so that we can be protected from authoritarians like this slapping tariffs on because they are trying to destroy this country, to make you and me suffer. And believe me, tariffs will make us suffer. We're already seeing our taxes go up. Every working class family pretty much is going to have their taxes go up, while the richest of the rich at the top are going to see massive tax cuts from now on. So on top of higher taxes, we're now going to have much higher cost of food because so much of it is imported from Mexico. Again, go back and watch that video. But the thing about a tariff, which is a tax on goods coming in, it does not get charged to Mexico or Mexican farmers. They pay 0% of it. It is a tax that is not paid by the federal government. It is not a tax that actually ultimately will be paid by restaurants and grocery stores and food packagers. It will be paid by you and me, the American consumer, 25%. 25% price hike, bare minimum of all of our food. But you understand that tariffs start trade wars. It's tit for tat. And that means it will hurt American farmers as well. Just like under the first Trump administration, we saw many, many farmers go out of business. We're already seeing crops in American fields rotting, unpicked, because more than 50% of our agricultural workers are undocumented in a number of very prominent agricultural states like Texas, California, Mississippi, Georgia. Large quantities of our workers are undocumented and they don't want to show up to work right now. And let's be real, the Cheeto wants to deport all of them. He wants to put 30,000 of them in Gitmo in a concentration camp. Who's going to pick our food then? Who's going to plant the next round of food, tend it, and harvest it? So we're going to see American farmers who are dependent on that migratory farm labor. Those are largely undocumented brown laborers. We're going to see those farmers already struggle massively under this regime. And then we're going to see countries like Mexico slap tariffs on the food crops that we export into Mexico. And there's two really big ones. soybeans, and pork. As somebody who went to college in Iowa, where hog farms abound, I can tell you this is going to be devastating for America's rural farmland. Again, with the gutting of our government websites, I'm not sure if this information is back up online, but when it is, feel free and fact check me. But again, I'm quite familiar with the data here. U.S. ag exports to Mexico have increased dramatically over the last 15 years. They've increased about 200%. American farmers make about $18 billion a year on their exports to Mexico. Again, primarily pork and soybeans. That's somewhere around 12 to 15% of all our agricultural exports out of the US. It is a huge amount. You tell me what's going to happen when Mexico puts a competing 25% tariff on imports from the US. What's that going to do to our farmers? It's going to suppress the purchase of those goods. It's going to hurt farmers directly. It blows my mind that after this all happened similarly in the first Cheeto administration, we saw soybean farmers devastated from what Trump did last time. That any farmer, blows my mind that any farmer in the US would vote for him. How many times will it take for us to learn our lesson? How did you not learn this last time? Is our memory so short? And it is so much worse this time around. We are deporting our agricultural laborers who plant and harvest our food, who run our meat packing plants. We are deporting all of those folks, and Americans do not want to do that work. As I said in another video, that is all exhausting, very physically taxing work that Americans don't want to do for $7.25 an hour, or a lot of those jobs are by the pound. I remember when a farmer here, actually out in Hood River, had offered their Bartlett pear crop for gleaners because they could not get a good enough price for it. So they didn't want to pay anybody to come pick it to just take a loss at market. So they donated it and folks could come and glean the fields. And I remember having this big heavy bag strapped to me as I'm picking pears for myself and for other folks for a food pantry. And I'm wearing this very heavy canvas bag that clips up this way and you fill it. And when it's full of pears, you unclip it and the bottom is open and you slide all the pears into these big, huge bins. And the farmer was telling me how their normal workers are paid by the pound. And he was joking because it was mostly other moms that were out volunteering. He was joking about how white women cannot pick fast enough to even come close to minimum wage. That you have to pick very fast, you have to handle these very heavy bags that hold 60, 70 pounds of pears. You're up on a ladder, and you have to do it in a way that you don't bruise any of the fruit or you don't get paid. And I wonder how that farmer is feeling now. Because he knew back then he could never replace his workforce of largely undocumented brown laborers with any white American citizen and hope that the job would get done. Nobody wants to take that work, and none of us can do it up to the standard of our massively exploited and undervalued ag labor force right now. So yes, these tariffs and all of the other oppressive, god-awful, and mostly illegal policies that this administration is implementing, they're going to be really painful for us as consumers, as we are forced to pay these huge tariffs and absorb that cost into our budget. After all, Elon Musk said it would be good for all of us to tighten the belt. It would be good for all of us to suffer a little bit. Makes us easier to control, that's for sure. While CEOs continue to enrich themselves massively, and you would be foolish to think that American corporations are not going to raise their prices, because if they know imported broccoli is going up 25%, they can eke up domestic grown broccoli by 5 or 10%, and you won't notice. So even if there are crops for which you have the option to choose domestically grown, it will be more expensive. And the CEOs who own those massive agricultural businesses, those corporations, they will see their profit margin go up as a result of this, and we will all suffer more. This system is meant for the super rich to get richer, for all of us to struggle harder, to have a reduced quality of life, and no longer be able to access the good things that we enjoy. In particular, from Mexico, things like mangoes, tequila, avocados, and bell peppers.
I've seen people start getting worried about produce and vegetables and meats in the country. I've seen some TikToks about people saying we have 3 days worth of supplies and that's it. But I went looking. I had a 4.5 hour flight to look, and I couldn't find a definitive study that was recently developed. But I did find some studies that show, on average, there's about 3 days worth of food at any given time on U.S. grocery store shelves. Most of that perishable goods, so your fruits, your vegetables, your meats, things like that. About 3 days supply. it can be less, it can be more, depending on the population center, the number of grocery stores, whether or not you live in a food desert, things like that. So it's true that we do have a scarcity of produce based upon our supply chain networks in the United States for fresh produce, fruits, vegetables, meats. And as I'm researching this, one of the things that really blew my mind is 30 to 40% of all produce that comes into a grocery store every day is thrown out due to blemishes, due to size, due to colorations, due to it being too soft, it being too firm. You know, all sorts of things. The produce is still good. It's just thrown out. This comes to 131 billion pounds in 2023 and $161 billion in lost produce for the grocery store chains. Those are huge numbers. So the produce is kind of there. It's kind of not. Like, add 30% more produce to your grocery store and see how much more is there. It's maybe might add a day, but we do kind of have a food scarcity due to supply chain networks, so that 72 hours isn't wrong. I'm not saying go make a run on the grocery store. Don't do that. There's no reason to overreact. Just like there was no reason to overreact about toilet paper, there's no reason to overreact about whatever else has been overreacted on the last 5 years. But it would be a good idea to go find some resources online. I'll see if I can find some for you guys that helps you develop your own 72-hour food kit with shelf-stable products. So we're talking about dried beans, dried rices, dried meats, different fruits, different vegetables, whether they're freeze-dried or not, that would last longer. I don't think we're going to have an energy crisis, so anything that can be frozen, those things will all be good. Find a good 72-hour kit like that you can build out. Don't forget like first aid kits, stuff like that, because these are good to have around in case of natural disasters and emergencies. And those, if you're building one for that, it's best to just get full shelf stable products. Don't go for the frozen stuff. But there's good resources for both shelf stable and not shelf stable 72-hour kits, what to have in your house. So find those. You can probably, for a family of 4, build one out for like $150. It's not super expensive, and it'd give you a peace of mind, especially with all of the uncertainty going on in the country right now around food shortages. Don't make a run on grocery stores. If you need help, there's plenty of local food banks who a lot of these grocery stores donate those blemished items to. Reach out to them. You know, patronize those places, because without people coming in, they won't get more. They won't get more federal funding. They'll go away. I've been seeing it all over the country. But don't run on the stores. Build yourself a 72-hour kit. Yes, what we're hearing about 72 hours worth of food is pretty dang accurate. It's not fully accurate, but it's pretty accurate. I can't find a good report for you.
Why are Americans not freaking out about these tariffs? Like, Donald Trump is isolating you. He is literally economically ruining your only neighbors by border, Canada and Mexico. He is ruining them to the point that they will not be able to come to anybody's aid. They will not be able to bail out progressive Americans. They will not be able to do anything that Trump is going to do. There will be no time, no money, and no ability to help anything. There'll be no more going to California to end wildfires. There'll be no more electricians going down to Asheville, North Carolina for flooding. Like, Canada and Mexico have double the amount of tariffs than China, who is supposed to be the big bad enemy of America, and they are not getting as high of tariffs as Mexico and Canada, your closest friends. Sorry, that's fucking weird. Like, literally, this is on purpose. He's causing chaos so he can do, and isolating you guys so that he's able to do more horrible shit with no one able to come and help. I would be freaking the fuck out.
This is going to cause economic pain throughout Canada and the United States. It's going to increase the cost of building, increase the cost of living, and just generally increase costs all around the board by putting this big tax on trade. We've been free trade partners relatively for a very long time. We are the Americans' biggest export market. We're also their biggest trading partner. This is nonsense. It's stupid. There's no good reason for doing this. It's Trump trying to make some sort of political point. And then he's going to make up an arbitrary time when he decides that that point has been fulfilled and go, oh, okay, my conditions have been met, and now we're going to remove the tariffs. What I'm telling you is things are going to change from my end. I no longer look at Americans or American-made products or property, anything like that. American exports that are coming into Canada, I view harshly now. I am looking at every product I buy. If it's made in the United States, I am not buying it. And I am also involved in the supply chain. So we spec equipment and building envelope materials and a lot of things about the construction of buildings through my firm. We spec equipment for HVAC, which primarily has been coming out of the States. No more. We are not speccing any more American-made equipment unless the customer explicitly asks for it. But we cannot trust what the price of that product is going to be when it crosses the border, because Canada is going to respond with retaliatory tariffs. So we're getting rid of that. We're going to Asian markets and to European markets for all of our products that we're putting into houses. Now, we're going to build this in as a habit. And from my company, I could say that the economic impact is going to be probably a reduction over the next couple of years of a couple $1 million worth of material and equipment that will not come across the border because I'm not speccing it. I'm also going to go to everybody that I know who is involved in the supply chain across Canada, and I'm going to start working on this in other ways to encourage other people involved in the supply chain to remove American-made from the supply chain. We used to look at you guys as partners, neighbors, friends. I used to look at American-made as a positive thing because it was coming a shorter distance than coming from Asia or Europe. That's done. That's over. We're not speccing American-made anymore. I'm avoiding it and I'm removing it. Sorry, that's what happens. It's stupid, and until you guys sort your stuff out, we're not going back. Until you prove that you can be an actual friend and neighbor again, which will definitely not be within the next 4 years, this is going to continue, and we're going to ingrain these habits into our trades and into our building practices. So, goodbye.
This guy wants our water. He's coming for it. And if you don't believe me, I feel like you're not listening. And it feels like the Canadian political class, which is now finally waking up to this man, is understanding what's going on. This whole time we've been asking, I wonder what Donald Trump really wants. You know, he's a businessman. He's so smart. Doug Ford's up there, saying, oh, he's a businessman. Donald Trump wants one thing. He wants the tariffs. Because Donald Trump, and not just Donald Trump, but the people behind him and the people with him, they believe religiously that the key to American prosperity is tariffs, the elimination of income tax, and the gutting of the social system. The gutting of it all. This is what they believe. They believe that this will create the new dawn for America. What's hilarious to me is that Americans have actually done this experiment before. It's called the Gilded Age. And Donald Trump literally yesterday or the other day was like, I want to go back to 1913. Well, I'll tell you what 1913 was. That was the Gilded Age. Go Google it. Look it up on ChatGPT. Whatever the hell you need to do. But the Gilded Age was defined by a few things. It was defined by tariffs, lack of income tax, but it also was accompanied by massive income inequality, massive poverty, massive political upheaval. But there was one group of people who did very, very well under this system. And that is the rich. Now, I don't know how the hell this idea of tariff your way, cut income tax, and basically get rid of all social services. I don't know how this got into the conservative right-wing intelligentsia, but it has. And if you stop, every politician, stop reading the Globe and Mail. Keep reading the Globe and Mail. Forget about the National Post. Forget about all that stuff. Forget about Bloomberg. Forget about the New York Times. They aren't reading it. The people in power don't give a crap what's in the Wall Street Journal anymore. It doesn't matter. They are on the fringe. The fringe has showed up. And I have spoken to people on the right wing, people who supported this guy, and they would tell me, they're like, no, you know what? He's going to bring tariffs in, and then he's going to eliminate income tax, and all the industry is going to come back to America. Insane. Like Economics 101, you're getting an F. You're getting an F. But they're in power. And I'll tell you the thing that worries me the most is that I came from Iran, okay? And so I got a little spidey sense, a little tingle dingle when I see any type of messianic religious behavior. And when you're confronted with people like that, people where it's not just an idea, it's an ideology. It's not just philosophy. It's like, it's Puritanism. And when it's religion, you can't rationalize, reason with people. There is nothing we can do. This is not about fentanyl. Less than 1% of all the fentanyl coming into America is from Canada. This is not about fentanyl. He's going to make up something else because he's conspiratorial. And what do conspiratorial people do? They constantly move the goalposts. So, what does this guy want? He wants to weaken our country. Why? He wants our resources. He wants to expand America. He's literally uttering it. He's talking about Greenland. He likes those resources. Now, you know, that Arctic passage, the water of Canada, we are the most resource-rich country in the world. And right above us? He's like, it's right above us? If you don't think he's coming for us, I just really don't know what to tell you. Like, this is an existential crisis for our country. And I hope all of us can wake up and recognize that this is not a joke. This is serious. And for the people, the Canadians who supported this guy, I believe in giving people, including myself, I make mistakes all the time. Y'all made a mistake. And now it's time for us, as Canadians, come together and recognize that this is somebody who we all have to stand up to. So I don't know. I feel like suiting up. I don't know how it is. If I stop buying American products, I will do it. If I no longer travel to America, I will do it. If I no longer go to America, if I get a job offer, I ain't going. Because you know what? I'm sorry. This is my country. I owe everything to this country. Who the hell and what the hell would I be if I was still in Iran? I'm grateful for this country every single day. This is a gift. And gifts are meant to be cherished. And so, suit up. Suit up.
So I just saw Justin Trudeau come out with new tariffs against the U.S. I need to explain something to you because I've been in a couple lives and I've heard some of my American friends talk about these things that they really don't understand, okay? A lot of people are saying, oh, we used to pay everything with tariff. We never had income tax. That was before 1930s. That was a long time ago. That was before the U.S. had no municipal infrastructure. Okay, so when America relied on tariffs way back in the day, it didn't have extensive public services. It didn't have roads, it didn't have highways, it didn't have social services, no programs like they do now. The economy was much smaller and less complex. In 1930, there was called the Scoot-Hawley Act of 1930. They called it the Scoot-Hawley disaster. The US went and raised tariffs on 25 different countries. And what did the 25 countries do? Retaliated with tariffs. And then what happened? Not only was it a catalyst to the Great Depression, blew it up. It made it worse, okay? Exports completely collapsed. Jobs were lost. The economy was shit. That's the Great Depression. Go look up at the people just like making these comments like, yeah, get them. Yeah, do it. Fuck Canada. Fuck Mexico. Tariffs don't punish China. They don't punish Mexico or Canada when you are giving the tariff to the country. They punish you, okay? It's a new tax that you're going to pay, okay? If I buy this from wholesale, I buy this for $10, okay, from the wholesaler from China. Say I'm an American, I buy this and I'm going to sell it for $20, okay? The tariff now, when I bring this in from China, I have to pay the tariff. The business owner, pay the tariff. Is say, oh, there's a 25% tariff on this. This now costs me $12.50, okay? Now, what am I going to do? Am I going to foot the bill? I'm just going to pay more for it and not get as much profit as I had on this like before. This goes to you, so it's now not going to be $20. It's going to be $22.50. And a lot of people don't realize that you're going to be paying for it. Okay, not China, not Canada. You guys pay. I really hope people will actually figured this out. Like, you hear these stories, these tariffs, you know, the entire country was funded by tariffs until globalization stole Americans' prosperity. You can't have cheap American goods without screwing American workers. US has strong labor laws. They've got unions, they've got worker protection. China, they've got factories, no labor laws, shitty salaries, and that's why you buy from them. That's why you buy from Canada, because it's cheaper. The American dollar is strong, Canadian dollar is weak, so you buy from us. It helps you guys. So you'll either have to pay way more or cut your wages and benefits if you want to be American. Look at me, we're going to make everything American. And you guys, and look how look how much your food costs right now. So, you know, there's certain places where here in America that you excel in. So you moved all the factory stuff, all the third world stuff to those countries, India, Bangladesh, China. What do you do here? Biotech. What else do you have? Technology, Apple. You've got defense, weapons. Okay, that stays here. High skilled industry. The real path to, what's the word? The real path to prosperity is trade. That's why we have free trade. Free trade between Canada, Mexico, everyone's happy. Not isolationism. Isolationism, that's what this is, okay? With free trade agreements, you know, let's focus on what you do best. High tech, advanced manufacturing, innovation. In Canada, we give the US crude oil. We give them some food, we give them pork and all these things, lumber, things like that. It allows other companies to supply cheaper goods. Everyone wins. So if you're concerned, if you're actually concerned with, say, a wealth gap, tariffs won't fix that. They just won't fix that. They'll just make working class Americans pay more for essentials. Pass the cost to you. That top 1% is still the one who's in control here. So if you thought this turkey you put in as your president again was doing you a favor, no. What he's trying to do is, this is what I believe. I believe what he wants to do is he wants to remove the income tax and do this old school shit. He wants to remove the income tax and rely on tariffs, so tariffs to cover everything. I'm sorry, people, that's not going to happen. Everyone's going to retaliate against Mr. Orange Man. Hope you guys really know how these tariffs work. I just saw Justin Trudeau release some tariffs. I'm going to go review this list now and see if there's anything that how is it going to affect me? I'm a pretty simple person. I have everything I need. You know, is my food going to go up? I buy lots of fruits and vegetables. So most of the fruit I get, it always says from Peru, Mexico. What fruits do I get that come from the USA? So I have to watch now products that are coming from the USA that are tariff, but I'll survive. It just hurts middle class people. Some friends want to say to me, well, he's just an idiot. You know, I don't buy into that. You know, the only progressive tax left is the income tax. Okay. And then use a regression tax. It's called a regression tax. You know, when everything was paid for by tariffs, it was a regression tax. Get capitulation from industries. If you kiss his ring, then he will give them a break on a tariffs. But if you piss them off, the tariff will remain. You know what I mean? That's the kind of power you would have. It just doesn't make sense. So everyone hurts here. And I said earlier, middle class, but not just the middle class. Some of us in the middle class will be able to overcome this. But you're going to have more homeless people. You're going to have more economic. There's going to be a lot of economic strife out of this. And I don't know anymore. I don't know. You all got lied to again, and I wish my friends that some of you in the America, whoever's going to be looking at this video, is stop being suckers, caring about the food that you pay for. He promised you the food prices would go down, okay? And they lied to you. They made you make it seem like I'm going to tariff someone, and they're going to pay for it. Go team, go! I'm sorry, guys. Please stop being stupid. You know, we love you guys. We love America. But you guys make really bad decisions. Bye.
When are Trump supporters going to finally say enough is enough? When are they going to wake up and open their eyes? Trump said for months on the campaign trail that he's going to improve the economy and make groceries more affordable. This guy's doing the exact fucking opposite. Our economy is fine right now, but watch it go down the drain as he starts making goods more expensive for all American families. Anybody who knows a thing about economics knows that the last time this country put extreme tariffs on foreign nations, we had what was known as the Great Depression. Donald Trump is making America more expensive.
Who would have expected the Chinese to do it cheaper? It's as though when you don't have labor laws or...
Has Jon Stewart always been so wrong, or has he just gone senile? China has a very robust labor law system that outpaces the US in a lot of ways. During my decade living in China, I spent a lot of time in and out of factories developing worker betterment programs with the ILO, UN Women, and other major corporations. Part of this work involved making sure the companies were following the strict regulatory environment. So let's see just how wrong Stewart is by comparing China's labor system to the US. First off, the US system is deregulated and changes state by state. Some states, like California, have fairly strict employment laws. Other states, like Texas and Georgia, do not. China, meanwhile, has centrally mandated employment law covering a wide array of things like contracts, wages, worker hours, termination, ensuring a consistent approach to employment practices. Next, contracts. In the US, there's no universal mandate for having a written contract. Failure to provide a written contract in China, though, can result in penalties for the employer, including the requirement to pay double the employee's salary until one is signed. The US has an at-will employment system, which means a worker can leave or be fired at any time. Not the most secure environment to work in. In China, though, if you complete 2 consecutive fixed-term contracts, employees typically gain the right to a permanent contract. Termination in China is also regulated and split into several types. Firing someone is very difficult. Employers have to provide evidence and follow specific steps like reassigning employees or offering trainings before termination. Severance pay equal to 1 month of salary for every year of service is generally required unless the termination is due to misconduct. Minimum wage is set federally in the US. In China, each province sets their own minimum wage to reflect cost of living needs for employees. There is no US federal mandate on time off or sick leave. In China, employees are guaranteed 5 days off when they start, which increases with years of service. Chinese employees also get around 13 paid holidays a year, 3 days for marriage leave, 98 days for maternity leave, an average of 15 days for paternity leave, and bereavement leave. How about Social Security, healthcare, and benefits? U.S. employees and employers pay into a social security system that provides a pretty basic level of protection covering retirement, disability, and survivor's benefits. That assumes the system's still going to be around when you retire. Employers and employees also contribute to health insurance plans. China's social security system is federally mandated and covers pension, medical insurance, unemployment insurance, work injury insurance, and maternity insurance, as well as a housing fund. What's clear is Jon Stewart is very happy spouting the same neocon hawkish talking points about China instead of being transparent, but now, since you've listened to this video and you've been on Xiaohongshu, you know that's not at all the case.
I'm glad you watched this excellent, amazing viewer. Thank you so much for supporting my content. It has been a lengthy video, and I hope to hear from you in the comment section. I wouldn't say much because the video is already long, so you can see that everyone is being affected in a way. And yeah, what are your thoughts on this? Let me know what you think about this video. Allow me to wind it up right here. Goodbye for now. Appreciate you. Thank you for watching. Subscribe for more.